And it was the first time that I started listening to my own voice.
And that was the roar.
And there was a roar that there is much more to life than this. And I started making my own decisions. And the first big decision was to follow Kundalini Yoga. Yes, and in the meantime, my mother passed away, and then of course you realize that life is very short, because in 3 months she was gone. So it can be gone in a blink of an eye. So yes, and I said to myself, okay, you have two choices here. Either you continue being numbing yourself and living a life that it's not your life, or you take responsibility for it, you make your own decisions, and you follow your heart.
Hello, everybody. Welcome again to the Kundalini Awakening podcast, from Karma to Dharma. I found another story from Karma to Dharma when I met Sigrid Van Tassel. I met
Mm.
her on the Kundalini Yoga Connect Day for Belgian and Dutch teachers, and she had a story of working hard, burning out, finding another way, healing herself from it, and now sharing what she has learned. Beautiful story. Thank you so much for being here today, Sigrid. Welcome in the podcast.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here. I'm really excited and very grateful that I can share my story, and hopefully, yes, I can inspire people or give people some strength in their process, because we all have our own story and our process that we need to go through. And yes, like we were already talking about it. I believe also in the power of Sangat. Yeah, the power of helping each other
Yeah.
as teachers, but also we are an eternal student, actually. So we learn from each other. That's what I really believe in.
Thank you. Yes, Sangat means, for those who don't understand, the community of like-minded people who are busy with developing their consciousness, raising their consciousness. And Sigrid is part of that community with me in the Dutch Flemish language community. So it's great we're doing this in English, and hope all enjoy. I always start with a question, and
Okay.
the question is, what is your favorite drink after doing yoga in the morning, or after doing yoga?
Ah, yes, there is the political correct answer, the one that is the healthy one, and that is to start the day with a fresh mind. And I like the water with some lemon in it.
Yes,
Not, yeah, the green one, the lemon, not the
lime.
yellow one, lime. Yes, exactly. So
Okay.
that one, it's a bit more gentle than lemon.
Uh,
This is the political correct answer.
uh-huh.
But to be honest, I should admit that I'm really a big coffee drinker. I just like the taste of it, coffee with some cloud of haver milk. I love that in the morning. Yes, I need sometimes I need this flavor, and it maybe it's psychological as well, but I feel fitter and more ready to dive in the day if I had my coffee in the morning.
Start now. Thank you so much.
It's not
I,
now.
if I have to count, I get the last few podcasts. Everybody was saying they take coffee in the morning. Yes, that's okay, right? There's actually people when you start doing the yoga teaching. Was it? Did they tell you? Can you tell why it's more correct to do water with lime in the morning? And
Yeah, of course, it's more healthy for the body. I'm not an expert in health, but I know that it's better for your darms. It does something with your darms. It's a good detox, and yeah, it's also vitamin C within it.
Yeah.
So it's also a fresh fruit,
Uh-huh.
so it's more prana,
Yeah.
and I think it gives more energy than coffee. There is in coffee, of course, there are these substances who give you a short boost, but on the long term, I think this lime drink or lemon drink is better
Yeah.
for the body. For the body, I also heard once in a yoga um, workshop that is lime drink is better for your nadis. Also, it sets your nadis open. So nadis are the subtle energy veins, like blood vessels, but for the energy, the prana.
Uh-huh.
And coffee would block that a bit if you drink too much. But I'm not an expert. I don't know whether this is the absolute truth.
But for you,
But
the coffee still works. It helps, right?
it helps. But to be honest, yes, we are all human beings, and if you become happy with a good cup of coffee in the morning, why not?
Yeah.
If it brings you joy, why not?
Yeah.
We are all human, as long as you don't exaggerate and you feel fine with it. There are people who really need coffee also.
Uh-huh.
So I can even drink coffee in the evening. I can sleep like a baby. So
Oh, really? Oh, I could never
yes,
do that. Yeah.
yes, yes. I'm those lucky ones.
So I guess you've been well trained in drinking coffee. What is your world before yoga? Can you share with us how your life looked like before you discovered yoga? Maybe
Oh yes.
professionally or privately?
Yeah, it's a very, very big difference, I should say. I think I was not really taking in I was not having my own life in control. I was led by what others were saying. I lived a life that I thought was politically correct according what society wants from you, and I was very, very far, totally disconnected from myself.
No,
I
wait.
d-
What does society want from you then? What is politically correct?
yes, it's this path that they already prepared for you, or you think you need to follow that path. You need to study, you need to have a diploma, then you have a good job, then you marry, you have children, you have a house, you have a car, this kind of stuff. There is nothing wrong with it, of course. It's great to have that, but I always felt there is much, much more to life than that. I felt a bit empty, and I had all that. I studied, I had a diploma, I had a good job. um, I didn't have children. I was at that moment also not in a good relationship, but that's because I could not take decisions for myself. I was led by the decisions of others more. I was influenced, and yeah, I didn't live a life according to my own heart's desire. Dharma was far away. I never heard about that concept. I didn't know what it was, but I didn't even know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted in life, because I am someone who is very adaptive to the environment and to other people as well. So I'm a bit like this animal, the chameleon.
You did?
I can adapt very quickly to the colors of others, and I didn't know what was my own color anymore.
Mm.
Something like that, and I was not happy. I was also in this surviving mechanism of pleasing, because I wanted to be loved by everybody. So I adapted myself so that yeah, I pleased everybody just to be accepted. I didn't know how to use my own voice. I didn't know what was my own truth. I also attracted very manipulative men. So as a good girl within the comfort zone, I adapted to their desires. But yeah, at a certain moment, you feel depleted. You don't know who you are anymore, and you break down. And at a certain moment, everything came together. I lost my mother to a very severe cancer just within 3 months. So it's been a very little time that I lost her, and of course that cracked me open, because you realize, oh my God, life can be over like that. So it gives you another perspective to life. It shakes you up. Life is not so to taken for granted anymore. And then I started really. I stopped. I paused, and I started listening to this deep feeling within, that there is much more to life than this, especially that there is more in me than that I could show. It's like this deep roar inside, like a lion, this deep roar. It was really screaming, and it wanted to be heard, and it wanted to break out of this cage of comfort. And then I started to I started to read books about personal development, spiritual awakening. I really, like a cookie monster, I started eating all these books. Because I was looking for answers. Okay, if there is more to life, what is it then? What is it then? And I didn't learn how to go within, because I was totally disconnected from my own feelings. I developed this mechanism through life, that I didn't need to within go in these feelings and feel them. I developed. I was an expert in just divert, take the long way around the feelings, just not to feel them. Numbing myself. I'm an expert in numbing myself. So I numbed what I wanted in life. I numbed what I was feeling. I adapted it to the world instead. Yeah, this survival mechanism you develop with everything that happened in your life.
Can you be more specific? Give us help the listener. Give them an example, for instance, at work, how you would numb and survive.
Yes, throughout my life, I numbed what I was feeling. It started at a very young age, when I was abused. Of course, this is a trauma.
Mm.
So I think something happened there, some disconnection from this deep trauma, and it continued. Also, my father became very ill when I was a young girl. I also had cancer. Luckily, I just touched the wood here. Luckily, he survived. He cured from the cancer. He's alive and kicking, luckily. But of course, this was a very deep process in our family, because he was nearly dead. So he was very ill, and I was just 8 years old. And then later on, my parents, of course, this was very heavy on the relationship. So they had their issues in the relationship, and they had a divorce. But I was very young. I was 15 years. And this is just the age where you need some mentor in your life. And I was a bit like Alice in Wonderland. I not knowing what to do, and I didn't know what to study. Yeah, I was a bit lost, like Alice in Wonderland. Some friends they still joke with it, because I'm still a bit like an Alice in Wonderland, but in the good sense this time, because I like to taste life and the experience of it. But at that moment, I was more really in need for answers. I was really a lost girl. I was also too good for the world, always adapting to other people because I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be heard. I wanted to be seen. And I thought if I can adapt to what others need, what others expect, then they will like me. So I started numbing my own feelings. I started numbing my own expectations, my own desires. And I started numbing it so much that I actually did not know what I wanted from life, who I was. I didn't even know, do I like spaghetti or not? Just as a matter of saying, of course. And yeah, then also when I was at that age, I was also a victim of, yeah, I was teased at school, bullied. I think this is the right word. I was bullied at school, so I was also a very unhappy and introverted girl. At a certain moment, I didn't even speak too much. I was very introverted, and actually, as a child, I was very extroverted because I connected with everybody. So it's a big, big change. Yeah, it's a big process. You form your identity at that age, and I didn't speak. I didn't have a mentor. My parents were divorcing. And then I started following when I was older, and at the time I had come that I had to choose a direction, a career. I just chose what was I thought was the right thing to do at that time, but I didn't really feel it in my heart. But I was influenced by not really my parents; they kept me free actually, but more by my former boyfriend. Yes, I started to study economics, and I started in a bank. Yes, I did all the things that I thought were politically correct. You need a diploma and a good job. Okay. And then I attracted a man who was quite very manipulative. So I started adapting to all his wishes, like the good girl again, numbing myself, numbing, and it became a story of numbing myself. And yes, then of course you end up in a black hole because you feel very, very empty. And then there is this roar inside that says your flame, you have a big flame, you have a big light inside of you. Just you have to ignite it because it wants to burn, it wants to shine, it wants to, there is more to life, there is some dharma inside of you. You need to do things in on this earth.
Wait, but you said you numbed.
Yeah, I
How
numbed
did
that
you hear the
feeling.
roar? But how did you hear the roar? What's the difference? That's an interesting thing for me. Um,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Numbing, and then you say you go to a big black hole inside, it's empty. But but then the roar. Tell me, bring us to the moment that you understood there was a roar inside of you.
Okay, yes, it's a very subtle voice first. And that's why I started reading these books, even when I was 15 years old and I was in the middle of this arguing with my parents and these big fights. I I ran away in my imagination and I was very interested in everything to do with the cosmos and quantum physica. And I started reading these books of the Celestine prophecy, you know, you know that book?
No.
I think it's from James Redford, if I'm not wrong. Celestine Prophecy. Yes, it's just a series of books, and it's all about energy. So these were the first times that came in touch. Okay, there is actually something more to life that we cannot see. So I was very curious about this. It's really this wonderland, like Alice in Wonderland. I started realizing, okay, there is actually a wonderland out there. There is much more to life. But the first crack really came when my mother passed away. But at that moment, I was also in a very relationship crisis, and I think this combination really cracked me open, because the man that I was with was actually, he was very depressed. He was also not Belgian. He was from Turkish origin. Nothing wrong with that, but the problem was that he could not ground himself into Belgium. So he was not here. He was in the head. He was in a dream world, and he was not here. And he neglected all the daily issues, and he was really imploded. He was in a depression, and he was also he didn't um, take care of other people. He didn't respect the wishes of other people. So he was very introverted, and yeah, he didn't listen to me. And he was also quite aggressive at times, very jealous. He kept me in his own world. He disconnected me from my friends. I lived in a small world, actually. I lived in Turkey, but in Belgium. You know, this feeling
Wow.
between four walls. So I'm a very outward person, and he kept me in a box. Yes, I think that's it. He kept me in a box, and I allowed him, because it's my responsibility. I cannot blame anyone. It's just his behavior, but I allowed it, because I was also used to numbing myself and adapting to the other world, outside world. And then you just meet someone, and we were, I think, 10 years together, and then if you he kept me between these four walls, and I thought at that moment, okay, maybe this is supposed how it is supposed to be. You're together with a man, and he doesn't want me to go outside, and okay, maybe this is the way. Of course, this is not the way. But at that time, I thought it was. So I allowed him between these four walls. But of course, I started to see that there are other things I wanted to do, to set things into the world, and I wanted to break free. I was fed up with this life, because were financial problems. He didn't work for 6 years. He was in a depression. So I had to run the whole household. So financially, it was a big burden, but also psychologically, he was manipulating me. And then I started feeling this roar. I started feeling, okay, there is something wrong here. Um, and it's the first time that I started thinking for myself. And I started to come into this power. I started to, because I was always saying yes to him, yes, yes, yes. And Anna, for the first time, I said, no, no, this is not how we will do it. I said, I cannot go on like this anymore. And then it's, I run away from the relationship. Actually, it's that's severe.
You know what happens when you say no to somebody else, right?
Yes.
You say yes to yourself.
Exactly. That's the big break point. I said yes to myself for the very first time. Yes. A-
Ah, okay.
And it was a hard thing to do, because that meant that I had to, because he didn't have work at that time. He didn't listen to me. I said the relationship cannot go on anymore like this, but he totally neglected it. He didn't want to listen to it, so he just continued with his behavior. He even locked me in a room one day. So I was locked in a room because I started to become a bit rebellious.
I
Um,
also got locked once for a weekend in my own apartment by my ex.
oh my God, you also went through such a thing. Oh, yes.
I had a
Yeah.
manipulative ex that thrived on my feeling of being not being good enough. So
No,
I can
yeah.
relate to your story very well. Good for you. Okay.
Yes, yeah, of course. This does something to you. You're really locked into this room, and then you have the time to think also, and it puts you in a certain process. And yeah, then I ran away from the relationship. Every day I took some clothes in a sack and I just took them to the job, and then I went to my mother's house and I put them there. Then at that time um, she was not ill yet. But it was just a few months before she realized that she had cancer. So all my clothes were stuffed with my mother, and I was lucky that I already at that time also came across my current boyfriend. It's not boyfriend; he's really my partner. I'm with him already 10 years. Um, no longer even 15 years. So he's a good man. I'm lucky enough to have met a good man afterwards. But anyhow, to make a long story short, I really break free from the relationship, from a toxic relationship. And it was the first time that I started listening to my own voice.
And that was the roar.
And there was a roar that there is much more to life than this. And I started making my own decisions. And the first big decision was to follow Kundalini Yoga. Yes,
Yep.
and in the meantime, my mother passed away, and then of course you realize that life is very short, because in 3 months she was gone. So it can be gone in a blink of an eye. So yes, and I said to myself, okay, you have two choices here. Either you continue being numbing yourself and living a life that it's not your life, or you take responsibility for it, you make your own decisions, and you follow your heart.
Wow.
And and then I came across Kundalini Yoga, and that was the beginning of my spiritual path to into self growth, self empowerment, and
Ooh.
yeah.
You know, a lot of times when I met you, you're all radiating, and of course you've gone through this time of contrast, right? And often when you're as a teacher, there's this protection of a teacher around you. People don't see what you've gone through to finally sit there. Huh? So
Mhm.
so much for sharing this very intense part of your life. How did you know that it was Kundalini that you wanted to explore?
It's not something is that was clear in the mind, because I am someone who doubts a lot and who is stuck in the mind a lot. I lived the biggest part of my life until now. I lived from my head, because I was disconnected from my emotions and my heart. All the decisions before were made by mostly by my head, but this was the first time that I took a decision from the heart, from some kind of inner knowing. And it's not, I couldn't explain it with the mind, because I came across Kundalini Yoga from a book, Gabrielle Bernstein. At that time, she really, yeah, it's what I needed at that time. She's an American motivational speaker, and she also teaches Kundalini Yoga. And I followed because I wanted to follow more that path. And to my surprise, there were a lot of courses in Belgium, and I was lucky enough to start with a starter's course in Kundalini Yoga. And it was a bit odd because I remember the first class we had to roar like lions actually, and were these mantras, and for the first time I had to start using my voice again, uh, because yeah, the yoga poses I knew them a bit from other yoga classes, but yeah, the mantras were new, and the breath of fire was new, and yeah, the arm poses. Sometimes you had to sit for 10 minutes with your arms up. These were all really weird practices for me. But it triggered something in me. It's made me curious and it did something to me. For the first time, I could also feel the energy boiling up, sparklings around me. My energy, it's not only the physical body, but I also sensed more the energetic bodies around. I started really to feel myself.
Just during an introduction course.
Just turning into an introduction course, but it's was it, I don't remember how long it was, maybe 6 or 8, I don't remember, but it really went very gradually. So first class was, for example, the breath, then more the mudras, the mantras, and she also gave, I think, a certain meditation to do for a certain days, because I was struggling with self-worth at that time. Of course, I didn't know who I was. I had no clue. So my self-worth was really gone. So she gave me a meditation for self-worth, and it was the one with Ajay Abe mantra.
For the radiant body. To radiate.
Exactly.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yes.
And you had done other yogas before.
Yes, but not very actively.
Mm.
More from the sports school.
Mm.
Yeah, I did some hatha yoga before, but it was, I think, only I remember it was in a sports school, and it was more the sun salutations. It was a lot sun salutations,
From the sports school. Yeah, yeah.
and since I was not really full connected with my body at that time, it was a bit boring for me. And Kundalini was this opening door to a whole new world. It brought me much deeper.
And
Uh,
any fear during that process? You go from being numbed and not in contact, and then this introduction period of Kundalini yoga and completely different world. You were not afraid?
no, because my curiosity was much stronger than my fear. Because I was, for the first time, I was on my own feet. I just liberated myself from a very toxic relationship. Um, I knew that life was very short, and I was really curious. Oh, I started to sense things for the first time. There was this fire that I felt, this energy. These mantras also brought me very deep within, gradually, um, layer by layer by layer. And I was just very, very curious. I was hungry for more. And then came the teacher training opportunity. Very not so long after the starters course, there was suddenly this opportunity to do a teacher training course in Antwerp. Um, at that time, now it would be a very cheap price, but at that time for me it was a lot of money. So I really had to invest a lot for doing this teacher training. So I doubted because, of course, it's a big investment. And what will I do? I will not be a teacher, but I wanted to learn so much more. And I wanted to really deep dive. So that's why I was so triggered by this teacher training. And it was this inner knowing. I felt I had to do this training, even though my mind didn't have a clue why. But I did it. I made the investment
So
from
you
all
follow
the
your heart.
last savings.
You follow your
Yes,
heart.
exactly. From my heart and soul, and with all the savings that I had. And that was a bit fearful, of course, because such a big investment, and then you don't know why you and where you will end up with this training. But I'm very happy I did, because this was really it cracked me open, and it was the start of a whole new life.
It's funny, yeah. We can save for expensive holidays, and then the next year we need another expensive holiday, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's
And then when you make a
momentarily.
yeah, and then we make an investment onto a teacher training, which is of course not a cheap training. Then we think about totally different. Well, it could be even seen as a holiday for your soul or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the most beautiful investment that you can make because it's an investment in yourself.
Isn't a holiday too
A
investment?
holiday, of course, yes, we need holidays as well.
Yeah. What's the difference?
Yes, but it's very short. It's a momentarily gratification. You know, this 1 week that you are abroad, you have the experience and you see new places, new cultures, and you enjoy the sunshine. But when you're back into Belgium, yes, then it's gone. it's a, it,
Reality.
it's a and this Kundalini yoga is more on long term. It changes your perspective. It's a transformation, and you you start also vibrating on another level, and maybe at that level you will maybe end up more abroad into these beautiful places than when you're not happy or numbing yourself. So yes, yeah, it's daring to make the investment.
And you said you did this for self transformation. You were super curious about a system that gave you within a short time so much new energetical experience, right?
Yeah.
And now then, how many years was that ago?
Yes, the teacher training was in 2016.
So we're talking about 9 years, no, 8 years ago.
Yes,
You
time
you would
really
never teach,
flies.
right? You didn't want to teach, so are you teaching?
I teached, yeah, when I started the training, I didn't think of teaching because I was not, my self-worth was not good in balance. I didn't see myself teaching. I was scared for that. I could not believe that people would listen to me. Who am I to sit there before the class? And, I had this belief. But then I was very lucky that I had a very good teacher. And she's still my teacher, my mentor, but also my soul sister. I call her Mona Ahmad. She's my teacher at that time, and she really uh, just at a certain moment she was also giving classes, and she needed someone to take the class for her. She needed a replacement because there's something happened in her family. She couldn't teach, and she needed a very urgent replacement. And she asked me, and I said, "Why the hell is she asking me? I'm just new. I'm just." I'm just in this teacher training, but she asked me to kick my ass. Pardon my words, but it was really like that. And of course, I couldn't say no because then I would put her in a difficult position. And I also realized, okay, maybe she wants to teach me something in this way. Maybe if I do this, maybe I will grow. So these thoughts.
That wasn't from your behavior to say yes to others. This was a different yes, or was it the same yes? To
This was a scary yes to myself because I realized if I don't do this, I will not grow. Sometimes, no, not sometimes, always. Uh, the thing you fear mostly is the thing you long for. Not always, but most of the time it is really like that. I actually deep inside of me I wanted to sit on that mat before the class. But I
Mhm.
was so scared of it. I wanted to stay in this safe comfort zone where nobody sees me, then nothing can happen. Nobody can reject you. It's safe to sit there. But she pulled me out of this comfort zone and she put me before the class. And afterwards, I realized, oh my God, this is just my spot. This is where I want to be. But it was what I feared the most because I was very fearful of being rejected, not being accepted. And yeah, by doing this, I realized, okay, actually, it's nice to sit here.
Tell us
It's
more about that, because what's so nice about sitting on a yoga mat and sharing a teaching with others?
because you, by tuning in also, uh, you become another person. I was not this good girl raised like that, following the others. When I was sitting there, I was not that girl anymore. Um, it gave me some strength, and I don't know where it comes from. Probably it comes from source. By tuning in, you tune into this wisdom deep in your heart, and we all have this wisdom within. It opens a gate. It for me, it gives you the responsibility also. It gives you this inner fire, and it's a role that I like to take, um, because you're not you at that moment.
Who
You
are
be,
you then?
you become a vessel for this knowledge, to come through you. You are there. You open yourself up for wisdom, and it comes through you. You are just very lucky enough to share it with all your energy, with all your heart. You become one with source, and through that, all this wisdom can be shared. It's this feeling that I have. Of course, there is still my physical body and my ego, which is also important, because yeah, you open, you have your own voice, you have your own ways to teach, your own personality, your identity is there as well. Of course, it cannot be neglected. We are here on earth, and everybody does it in her own unique way. That's what makes us so beautiful as human beings, that we are so unique. So you have your own blend with it, but still, if you open up and you dare to surrender to whatever may arise, beautiful things happen. Because my most beautiful classes that I gave, um, were not the classes that I prepared for that much. For an for an example, because in the beginning I used to write down everything that I would say, and all the kriyas were just before me. But I realized most of the time I didn't say anything what was written on that paper. Of course, it gave me a structure, and you follow the kriya, so you have something to hold on, of course. But when, as most of the time, I just could let it go, and when you tune in, it comes through you, and you just use other words, you say other things, just things that arise at that moment. And once, a good friend of mine, she she had to teach, the day after, and she called me just in the night that she couldn't teach. She was very ill, and it was a very important class. She couldn't cancel it, and she said, can you really please replace me, because it's the last time that I would teach there, and the studio will close. And okay, I said, okay, I will teach, no problem. But it was just very early in the morning following that night, so no way to prepare. So I said, okay, two things that I can do: either panic, but that won't help me, or just surrender. And just, I still had some class from the week before in my head a little bit. So I said, okay, I will give that class. And when I came there were all people I didn't know, because it was not the studio where I normally teach. And it was a very big group with a lot of people. And but I felt, I didn't feel stressed. I could surrender, at that moment. And while tuning in, I also made this intention that, okay, whatever may arise will just come from the source through me, from the gurus, from the wisdom all around me will come through me, and I trust that. I surrender to that, and it was the most beautiful class I ever gave.
In front of people you didn't know.
Yeah, it's the strength of when you do yoga or any other uh, divine practice. You set the field, also the vibration of the mantras, the tuning in, it sets out a field. And I really believe if you really trust it and surrender to that, everything that needs to come out needs to be shared. It will just flow through, and it flows through you also. You become one with this wisdom. You understand what I'm
Yes,
saying?
I do. I just in the back of my head, I'm thinking, would the listener understand
Yes.
this? Well, I think the only way to experience this is just to dive in and have a Kundalini yoga class, because you cannot. It's never. You cannot be described what you can experience, right? So,
Exactly.
but
Yes.
definitely, you make. I think you make people curious about what's that Kundalini yoga class.
But you don't only experience it as a teacher. Also, when you just go to class and you do the practice in the group, you feel this energy. And when you meditate or when you have to do these very demanding exercises, uh, with your mind will go crazy. If I tell you you will need to sit 11 minutes with your arms up, your mind will get crazy. But when you do it and when you experience it within this energy field, it becomes much, much, much more easier. You are being kept up by the energy of the group. And also with when you chant the mantras, when you really do it within a group, and everybody has his unique voice and timbre and color of voice, tone of voice, but still it's all within the same frequency of this mantra. It's like you're being baited, taking a bath in this field of frequencies. It's in a way a bath, like
Yes.
a sea of energy. Maybe we can explain a bit like that.
Well, I believe you definitely made people curious. Uh, Definitely. Well, I can say I also had power yoga, which was sun salutations in the fitness school, and then there was this Kundalini yoga class. It sounded weird, but I just wanted to try out everything to understand what was mine. And I remember biking back home wanting to hum the mantra. I didn't know what happened. Why the heck do I want to chant a mantra biking back from a fitness school? Amazing. And it made me so happy.
Yeah, it stick to your mind somehow. Eh? It planted a seed. That's what I experienced as well. These first classes, even though I couldn't explain them or I found them kind of weird, it planted some kind of seed within, some seed
Beautiful.
of consciousness. But I
And
still like other yogas.
yeah, and did you do anything else except Kundalini yoga? What's more on this Kundalini path? What have you opened yourself because it has been 8 years ago?
Oh, I did a lot of things because my inner journey still was continuing. It didn't end up with Kundalini yoga. I'm still Alice in Wonderland, so I was still curious what is more outside there. So I also followed deep courses in Hatha yoga from an esoteric school in Antwerp, and it also explains it's like it just shines a light on and gives you a bit another perspective. So it's a bit another explanation of the same thing um, being taught in Kundalini Yoga, but from another perspective. So it's like you have this diamond in your hands, and Kundalini Yoga looks at it from this point of view, and Hatha looks at it from this point of view. But there is also a lot of Kundalini in Hatha Yoga. So it gave me this other perspectives. I still follow this school for myself, and I also, since I am very yin from character, I am very flowy, feminine. I also like the yin aspects. I also started following yin yoga, which was also important in my process of burnout, because Kundalini yoga is great, but it can be very demanding, and it has this structure and discipline also. And at that moment, I needed a little bit more this softness, this yin, which also exists in Kundalini yoga. It's the male power and discipline, and on it sits the more feminine tantric sides that comes from within. But at that moment in this process of burnout, I really needed more softness. So I started more doing the yin yoga and tantra as well. And I also tried out shamanism. Uh, yes, shamanism, I think. Also more breath work, Reiki, some meditation, more in visioning. But I always, it's like a butterfly, who goes everywhere and tries and sits on different flowers. But I always came back to the same flower afterwards, and that is Kundalini Yoga. Kundalini Yoga became a little bit my anchor point. It's for me, because it's for everybody different. I speak only of my own experience here, but Kundalini for me is the thing that grounds me most and triggers the most transformation within. Or even in my times of burnout, the meditations and some exercises really help me to stabilize my nervous system again. You just, that's also very important, to follow your own body and your own needs. Because Kundalini Yoga, if you dive into it, it's very, very, very rich. And I realized by doing all these beautiful things like Hatha Yoga, Yin Yoga, shamanism, it exists within Kundalini Yoga as well. It's like this amazing, rich box of tools and kriyas and meditations. And if you dive into it, you come across all these other beautiful things as well. But you choose what fits for you in a certain moment. When I was in this burnout, I did not. I was not in need for this really demanding kriyas because my body was too weak. But I did other meditations who are more yin, who are more supportive, who didn't demand so much physical action, but more the mantras, um, yes, and some breath work that really brings you down, balances and the nervous system. So so as this curious butterfly, I always ended up with the same flower. Kundalini Yoga is my anchor point. Yes,
Wonderful. And you
I
also
can say that.
mentioned that you topic tantra, because that's pretty popular nowadays, right? Can you actually unveil your path in tantra? And I heard you did some tantra coaching. How that
Yes,
has been for you?
yeah, definitely. Yes, Kundalini Yoga is also a tantric path, because yes, first of all, very briefly, maybe I can explain what tantra is. because when you most people think about tantra, what arises for the first moment is the more the sexual aspect of it, which is a part of it, but tantra is more about living your life at its fullest with all your senses, falling in love with life, enjoying the sun on your skin, yes, singing, dancing, enjoying life. It's a feminine way of looking at life. You know, the flowy parts, have joyful parts, relating with other people, the touch of it, discovering new things. Also, of course, the sexual part is very important thing, but more from the heart and from the need to become one with the divine. It's very much about this connection with the divine. And Kundalini Yoga is also a very tantric path. But what I like about Tantra is more the soft character, the feminine aspects. And if you combine this Tantra with Kundalini Yoga, it's a very beautiful marriage, actually. Kundalini Yoga is this tantric way that arises from within by doing this, the kriyas and the mantras. It is very tantric, but it is very structured.
Yeah.
You need a
Discipline.
discipline,
Yeah.
you know. So it has this more this male. How should I say? It's a very male anchor point, which is necessary because if you let out the feminine energy, it will go all over the place. You need something to hold it.
Is that why you did the tantra coaching with Jasper and Humita? Maybe that's the mix of that.
Yes, I like the Kundalini Yoga because it gives me discipline. And for me, this is a very difficult thing to do because from nature, I'm very feminine.
Yes.
I'm all over the place. I need this discipline, this containment of energy. But I like the tantric way because it's unfolds this feminine more. And I think this is also the power in this Aquarian age. You feel that this feminine aspect is becoming more and more important in life. You know, the people want to slow down more, they want to enjoy life more. It's not about acting only or of pursuing career. It's also about being and enjoying, and this feminine is becoming more and more important, which was suppressed for a very long time. And I'm not talking about women and men here. I should make that clear. It's about feminine and the male aspect, yin and yang, which exists everywhere in our life, within us as well. I also have this male aspect in me, but the male aspect was very dominant. You
Can you
know, the
please repeat this from after yin and yang? There was a interruption in the connection.
oh yes, okay. Yes, it's about, so it's not about being male and woman,
Female, yeah.
but it's not about the sex, but it's more about the energy. So I have also male aspect in me, you have the female aspect in you. Um, they need to be imbalanced, you need both. But for a long time, this female aspect was suppressed by how society worked. The men were more important. Also, they I don't know exactly the word in English. The patriarchat.
Yeah.
The
Patriarchal.
yes, thank you. I couldn't pronounce it very well, but for a long time, this energy was more dominant.
Yeah, the
You need
male
to
patriarch, the male
yes,
leader, suppressing from it comes from the yeah. Actually, different religions have had male leadership, and they suppress the female energy.
exactly.
I
Yes.
understand.
And they were also a bit scared of this feminine energy because it's very powerful. This feminine energy, it holds, it gives birth, literally. It can really give birth to a child, but it also gives birth to whatever wants to be manifested. You know, it's the Shakti energy. It's in fact a manifestation of this divine consciousness, which goes through us as human beings. We
Mm.
have this power to co-create with the universe, and this is a very female aspect. This movement of giving birth to our ideas, to creations, to whatever sound that may come through our voice. This is all very feminine, but from a place of joy, and from a place from connection to the divine, to connection with our heart, not from a place of I must do this, or you need to act, or you need to be someone. You know, you feel the difference when you
One
create
is more
from.
instructional, and the other one is more inviting. If I
Yes, exactly. Yes. It's good that we are two minds here. You can explain it very well. Yes. So
I'd
this.
like to ask you because that you mentioned to me just before we had this interview. You also went to tantric coaching. Um, what's the difference between coaching and the difference between how do you apply Kundalini or yoga or tantric coaching? Tell us about that part of your journey.
Yes, for a long time, until now, I was a teacher. So it means you teach the class. You go with the people in your class through the kriyas, through the meditations. You set out a field, but it ends more or less there for you. The people go home and they have their own process, probably, but as a teacher, the role ends there. And when you are a coach, you go a little bit deeper. It's more like you guide people through this process that is all ignited by the practice itself. So it continues the practice by asking the right questions. So as a coach, you don't advise people anything, or you don't show people how they should follow their path. You don't really lead them towards their dharma. No, a coach is someone who helps people to discover it within themselves by just asking the right questions. So you guide them a little bit deeper. And to be honest, that was what I was missing a little bit in Kundalini Yoga when I was in my own process. Because you do the practice and you went through the meditations, and then you're at home, and then what? So a coach is someone there who really guides you through this process further, to this transformation further, by just asking you the right questions, that you can just go a little bit deeper into the layers and see whatever you struggle with. What do I need at this moment? What is blocking me? Why is it blocking me? Just to cut through these blockages, in order for you to grow into, I would say, the best version of you, but you're already the best version of you. I don't like using that word that much. I would say more, um, who you really are at essence. You just take away all the layers of mechanisms that you develop through your life, conditioning, patterns, maybe some thoughts that you have around you. All these layers, they are blocking you from being who you really are at essence. And this is the best version. You're already the best version, but there are these layers around it. And a coach is someone who helps you to dig through these layers and helps you to break free out of these layers, so that you can shine and radiate and let out a lion. something
Yeah,
like that.
I can totally relate to that. I also did the coaching training and as a Kundalini yoga teacher, and the impact goes further, right? I mean, it's nice to give the class, but the class doesn't mean it's transforming a life. And and
Hmm.
and the coach is there to assist when needed to go through the transformation, and that's just so wonderful if you can be a part of that. I mean, it has nothing to do with ego. I try not to stay in there, but it's just beautiful if you know that your being can be part of helping others in their transformation process, right?
Exactly. Yes. It's just someone that listens to you, that can maybe just open your eyes to something new, changes your perspective, opens up more consciousness. Yes. And maybe give you the right meditation, because I also realize that there are so many meditations and so many kriyas, and I experienced that some people don't know how to choose what is the right thing for them at a certain moment. And as a teacher, I received a lot of these questions. I have this problem. I want to change that, but what can I do? Which meditation? Because there are so many, and then I also experienced it myself. You get stuck. You are frozen because, okay, I want to meditate, but I don't know which meditation. And a coach also helps in that, to give the right meditation, and from there things start moving again.
So how does your life look like now? Is it are you still doing a bank job, or is it now full on coaching, or how does life look now after making that decision to listen to the roar inside of yourself?
Well, this roar is continuing. So I'm still on earth, so it means there are still processes to go through. And this is one of the processes. It's on another level, also growing my self worth and believing in myself, stepping into my full potential. And it means that, yeah, I ended up in a burnout because I allowed myself to sit too long in a job that didn't really feed my soul. It was also very demanding, quite stressful at moments. But that in itself was not so much the problem. The problem was that I was not really happy in that job. It didn't fulfill me. And I was not being honest to myself. I didn't really listen to this roar inside, because I was teaching and I was happy about that. And I thought that I was doing well. I said, okay, I'm doing this job. I need it for financial reasons. So I kept on doing it. And you also have this mind plays with you. It's really a nasty one, the mind, it plays with you, and it whispers, yes, you're doing yoga, you're doing good, but you need this job for financial reasons, and you cannot give it up because you're working there already 20 years. And where will you end up when you don't have this job? You cannot earn money from teaching. So it kept me into this job. And I start teaching a lot, too much actually. It it of course it fed my soul, and I was very happy as a teacher. But my body started to become tired. I didn't. I was giving a lot, and I didn't take care enough of myself. And this is also yoga. This is the highest form of yoga, is to take care of yourself. So was the hardest lesson for me to learn throughout this burnout process, that self-care is very necessary, and it is allowed. It is okay to take care of yourself and say no to someone else. It is okay to not acting on expectations of others. It's okay if you don't teach for a while. It's okay to be and not do something. It's okay to let go everything and just be and rest and relax. I had to learn this. It is a very hard thing to do, not doing anything. So this was for me a very big lesson, self-care. And from here, now we are at another level, another cross point where I'm still at a job at this moment. However, it's a bit different. It's another. It's actually other responsibilities. Things changed also at the job. It's more social from the HR department. Um, but still, there is this roar inside of me that says, "Okay, Sigrid, you're doing fine, but you have still other tasks to do in this world." So I'm really into this process now. That's why I'm also following the Kundalini Yoga coaching training, the Tantra coaching training, to do something with that.
Mm.
So I'm really developing more and more into my Dharma to really one day being able to step in fully into the job that really resonates with my soul. But I'm grateful. I'm here where I am here, and it's my own pace. There is no rush. As long as I keep on moving and follow my heart and be honest to myself, because this is one of the most important thing, is this being honest to yourself and feeling to these emotions. If it doesn't feel right, if you feel frustrated, not to numb it this time, but to really listen and act upon it. So this is the big lesson that the process, let's say, that I'm going through at this moment.
Mm.
And we will see from where it will develop. Uh, I just surrender and see what comes. I'm very grateful for where I am at now. I'm very grateful for this job that I have now. But I know that maybe one day I will have to let it go and just choose for something else, something more aligned whenever the time is there. It's like the sutra. When the time is on you, act.
And the pressure will be gone, right?
Yes.
Sounds like you feel the pressure. Wow. Thank you so much, Sigrid. We crossed the hour, and I try to. Well, I don't believe we bored the listener. Your story is incredibly beautiful. From
Thank you.
numbing yourself, daring to listen to that voice, and daring to put the head aside and follow the heart, and to be really honest about, hey, I'm tired. I need to rest. Let go of everything. And incredible story. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're
Wow.
most welcome. I'm very grateful that I could be here. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we do our best to give voice to people like you, because you inspire others with your bravery, with your honesty, and 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 we, it's just a tool, but I do resonate with you that the Kundalini Yoga has many, many beautiful tools that when you take the time to explore it, it can help you through challenging, transforming phases of life. So thank you so much for being here. I do have one last question.
Okay, I'm open to it.
If you would tell this to a person, if you don't feel anything about yourself anymore, what to do? If you've completely numbed yourself, tell that to them right now.
Mm, yes, the only way is within, to go within.
Mm.
Yes, you
So,
can do hundreds of things and it will surely help you, but it's all in here.
mm,
If you just take the time and space, give yourself time and space to really feel, okay, what's going on here, and be honest to it. Write things down, talk with yourself, build up this relationship with your heart, talk with your heart. It's all about building up and restoring this the most important relationship you have in your life, and that's the one with yourself. And there are millions of ways to do this, and you find your own way. But talk with your heart.
Hmm. Thank you so much for that um, wisdom, Sigrid.
Thank you.
Yes, that now.
Satnam.